So my name is Kenya Abraham. I am the Organic Transition Program Manager at Oak, and just was hired into this role this past October. Previous to that, I was an inspector for the National Organic Program and livestock and in crop inspections. And I'm also a farmer myself, and so I have a small dairy farm production in Lexington, Kentucky. Do you want me to talk about the programs? Is that what you said? Or keep going, or let everybody else just do an intro?
Do an intro, and then, like some of the questions I have, which will lead up to you explaining in depth, your role and what you've experienced.
Okay, and so that's a brief intro, and what my program does is I am responsible for the Transition to Organic Partnership Program that Oak has graciously given me the opportunity to serve and be a representative for the farmers that want to come into organic transition or into just learning about organics. And so it's not just for certification process, but it's also for farmers who just want to learn the practice of organics on their farms to heal their soil. And so what we do is offer transition training, which includes on-farm technical assistance. We have a team that runs with me, and so there are 2 other people that work with me to do that transition technical assistance. And then there's also a production specialist, Sarah Gerkink, and she goes out on farms as well to assist with the production side of TA. And then we have a mentorship program. The mentorship program offers transitioning farmers who have the goal of being certified organic to be the mentee of an organic farmer who would be their mentor. That organic mentor farmer is paid $3,000 for their service and their time to work with that producer. And the producer themselves, the mentee, gets a $500 stipend for travel and a $500 stipend for education. And so that's what my role does here at Oak. And I'll pass the ball to my boss.
Well, we're so excited that Oak gets to sort of expand the technical assistance around organic certification and organic production through this Transition to Organic Partnership program that the National Organic Program has put out. And we're in the Midwest region. So we're one of 11 states participating in the Midwest region, and just really excited to do this work connected with other organizations like Oak and all these other states throughout the region. So where should I start? So my name's Brooke Gentile. I'm the executive director at Oak, and I've been with the organization since 2017. And Oak is a nonprofit, and we are founded by farmers, and we serve farmers. So all of Oak's program priorities and the initiatives we run are because our membership has said this is something that we need. And we're primarily farmer. The majority of our members are farmers, and so everything we do is to help support family farms in Kentucky to thrive. So we have farmer education programming, technical assistance programming, and a lot of market development and support and outreach for our farmer members. Oak is a membership organization, so we do have about 450 members that are active and many more that come and go throughout membership. But the main thing to know is that our programs are for everyone. You don't have to be a member to participate in programs, and you don't have to be a member to access technical assistance. So Oak's here for any farmer, any ag professional that's interested to learn more in organic farming practices, because there are a lot of benefits to using those practices and getting curious about what that could look like on your farm. So I think I'll stop there. Tanya, I have a lot more to say about the different program areas, but I'm going to stop there for now.
Okay.
Great. Okay, this is my turn. I am Stephanie Jerger. I'm the Vice President of Operations for the Organic Trade Association. The Organic Trade Association is the lobbying and regulatory and advocacy body for the entire organic industry. We serve everyone from seed to shelf, farmers to retailers. And what we do is we work directly with Congress and the USDA to make sure that we continue to keep the regulations and the standards strong. We make sure sure that the integrity of the USDA certified seal stays intact. And we work in concert with farmers via our members to be able to have that information by gathering information from farmers and people who are out there in the fields. But also people who are using the seal in other ways so that we can make sure that consumers understand things and we make sure Congress understand things, because again, this is a seal that's regulated by the US government. So we have a direct line into them, and that is what the Organic Trade Association does. We are membership based as well. A membership-based nonprofit. We serve about 10,000, we represent about 10,000 different brands, farmers, retailers, merchants, brokers, importers, global people, international members as well. So we have a very large reach, but even that 10,000 is not even half of the amount of organic certified operations. So there's still a lot more people that we can reach and bring under the umbrella. Luckily, you know, what we do for one really benefits everybody. So we try to get as many voices as we can to be able to participate in these processes to make sure that we have the broadest reach and the broadest solutions that we can find to making sure that we keep the organic standard strong and the integrity of the seal strong for consumers, because that's really who drives the strength of the seal. At my job at the trade association, outside of just operating, just keeping all the doors open, maintaining contracts and relationships, is to handle and lead all of our work in the area of diversity, equity, and inclusion. We have done a lot of work in the past 3 years and have quite a lift to try to bring in more disadvantaged and marginalized farmers into the organic fold, people who are already having organic practices to help them get certified, and then for the ones who are conventional, to help them have better access to just having organic practices, even if they do not find benefit in certification. That is not at all a barrier for us. Among some of the work that we've done under this program, we've created a program where we provide a cost share, a stipend. We will pay up to $750 towards the certification for farmers or brands in our programs who want to get certified. They participate in an online webinar each month that we have, or they cannot, but we do bring in consultants so that people can come here firsthand and ask very specific questions. They get better one-on-one knowledge about the process and what's going to happen once you get into concert and agreement with a certifier, because that can be a very confusing time. So we do that. We bring them there. We provide scholarships to all kinds of organic events, not just the ones that we host, but other industry events we pay for, because we want to have farmers who are not already a part of the organic industry to get more immersed. We want them to see what it's like to be at a trade show, what it's like to be at our organic week in DC, what it's like to go to a regional conference like Kentucky Black Farmers. So we pay for those kinds of things for people who are in our program. Again, because the idea is to bring more in, and it's not that we understand that we can do it by ourselves. So we pay for that as well. And those are just a few of the things that are provided in our program, along with direct technical assistance. They have direct access to me and my staff whenever they need anything. And that has really been a big benefit. So that's how the crux of our program and how we're operating in it right now.
All right, this is for Kenya, and then I'll have one for you, Stephanie and Brooke, after Kenya gives her answer. Since you've been in your role, what is the biggest misconception you've seen, like with sustainable agriculture and just people who are interested in getting certified but have this big fear?
I would say a lot of the conversations I have with farmers, it's usually the misconception of you know, what it's going to cost them, or how the rules actually work, you know, or apply to them or not, you know, and things like just not understanding exactly, you know, what it costs, or where the measure is for the cost share, that, you know, reimbursement and things like that. A lot of people say, I can't afford to be organic, or you know, it's too expensive, you know, and they're already practicing and doing all the things. Another misconception is the amount of record keeping that it takes to be certified. A lot of times you just have to explain that, what you do in the ground makes you organic, what you do in your office makes you certified. And so keeping the proper records that are necessary, and some people don't understand how to do that, or they think it's too much to do. And really, you just kind of got to walk with each person. It's different for everybody, you know, and there are a lot of misconceptions out there, but lately and recently, that's what I find myself going through with people, is explaining those things.
Within y'all's Oak and with OTA, like what are some of the things that you all try to do to dispel some of that misconception?
For me or
Yeah.
Kim? Okay,
For
for me.
both of you, for Brooke and you, yeah.
Okay, one of the things that we try to do is, again, I host a monthly webinar where everyone is invited. I host it every month, whether one person shows up or 10 people show up. And I always bring in a consultant on a specific topic, but always the certifiers there. And the certifiers who are there are volunteering their time. So they're not consulting, but they can answer specific questions that you can ask in a different way. But that's one of the things that I do to try to dispel those myths. Have them be able to come in a very informal, like this, one-on-one setting and just ask the question, and not ask a broad question about what to do if someone sprayed next door, but ask a very specific question about a neighbor that lives 100 feet away from them and the crop is 1,000 feet that way. Where would you put the fence? And like, we all can sit in an informal place like this, other farmers who are doing it, and talk about that process. And that's what I find helps them, is to be able to ask those really specific questions and get them answered. Because I mean, honestly, the information that is online is so vague. The information that you can find online does not cover what's in those regs, and the regs are in regulatory speak. I continue to talk to the USDA about just the amount of information and the language used is really not conducive for this kind of farmer that you're trying to reach. So we're going to have to do better about that, but having a way to translate what the regs mean or what they're trying to do, because I think moreover, King, I really appreciate that what you do in the ground makes you organic, what you do in the office makes you certified, and just try to have them understand what the reg is intended to do so they can better formulate what they do next, because they truly do not have that understanding, and that's been a big barrier. So that's one thing that we do, is provide a real open forum for them to be able to ask specific questions and get them answered.
I would say I'm sorry.
No, go for it.
I would
Kenya,
say
go for it.
you can go if you want. But for me, I think for us, it's relationship building and being able to be available to our farmers. And so they can reach me through email, text, or, phone call, or, a Zoom call. I prefer anybody to go to my calendar and just schedule themselves a meeting with me to talk, and we can do a quick session and go over stuff. And so just building that relationship and the trust that needs to be there for a farmer is really important. And so just trying to meet people where they are is where I've just started with this. But go ahead, Brooke, what was you gonna?
Yeah, it's that. I mean, I think that the real power is in the one-on-one connection and being able to answer questions as they come up for the farmer. And sometimes they don't even know what the questions are to ask. And so we have to do just some like early foundational education around what the regulations are, where they can find them, what the certification timeline is, what our role is in the process. Like, we're not a certifier. Most people come to us, they think we're a certifier, and we're like, no, we just help you. We don't play a role in that certifying world. But we can help you with all the paperwork and understanding what to expect when your inspection comes around. So Tanya, to answer the question, it's just like, there are so many assumptions about what is required, or folks aren't even considering what might be required, right? Some people think that you just have to apply once ever, and that it's, they don't know that it's an annual renewal cycle and an annual on-farm inspection. And really, we help folks understand that a lot of the paperwork can be thought of as a living document that they should be updating as they go throughout the season. And so one of the things we do is like, we just take it slow. We try to understand where they're starting from, and then layer in. We have our long checklist of all the things we need to get through eventually for success. And and we just take it one piece at a time. A couple other things that we do that are really practical that sort of help with like the mental load of the work is one, we're always supporting farmers getting a business plan that includes organic products in it, right? Because that can be a really important piece of this choice working for their operation. And so luckily in Kentucky, we have a great referral partner. We make those referrals to the Kentucky Center for Rural and Agricultural Development. And that's a real benefit. And then we also provide farmers with templates they could consider using for record keeping and trying to make sure that they feel like they're supported in successful paperwork, but also always emphasizing along the way that a lot of it is just like best business practice. Like you're going to want to know what the activities are in your field because you're going to want to know the labor costs with that, and you're going to want to take that into long-term planning for your business operation. So we have templates for all types of record keeping that a farm could use or adapt as useful. And then the other ways that Oak works to dispel myths around organic certification is through conference sessions, webinars, and field days. We always are having organic farmers talk and present. And so they can share their challenges within organic farming systems, but also what they've done when it comes to certification. So in particular, when it comes to adding, if you're just doing organic certification for your cropland, or when it comes, say there's a farmer we've been working with who has certified organic cropland, but they want to bring livestock into certification. It's really beneficial to have that farmer talk about what that process is like in front of other farmers. So we try to create learning opportunities like that.
I think for me, I always like to keep things simplified for farmers. Like, okay, so if I'm a conventional farmer and I'm walking into you, talk to one of you three, walk me through the steps, the process. So, just tell me step by step, what is it that farmer would need to do in order to grasp it?
How long do we have, Tanya?
The simplest steps you can take, the simplest terms. Because, I've been talking to you off and on and, spoke with Stephanie, spoke with Amber Scalego. And so for me, I grasp it. But, for somebody who is not, has all this fear and tension and, this hearsay and already built up these barriers within themselves, what's the simplest way to tell them, hey, okay, you're doing this practice. This is step 1A. You're going to meet with Kenya and Kenya's going to take you, walk you through this process. And then, I think the cost aspect of it, how do you all talk to them to get through that cost or get through that barrier or tell them different ways you can sort of supplement that cost to rid them of that fear.
Yeah.
All right, Kenny, you go first.
I would say I have just started with meet me. Well, I try to meet them where they're at first. So depending if they're full of fear and all the things and just, brand new into, I want to, improve my soil and they're thinking about, going organic or what does that take? So we have KDA with their new transition application process, which is for the first year free for the farmer to get certified, I believe. Is that correct, Brooke?
Yeah.
And then the second year, I think there's a discounted rate. So they're making a tier basically for that financial cost for the farmer. And the third year, then after the transitioning, they go into paying for their certification. And luckily, like we do have KDA and they are a lot less in their service fees than what other certifiers are. And so our farmers are fortunate in that. It's not nearly as much as what some other places would charge. And so that's one thing to explain, but also it just depends on where they're at and what's going on and what those fears are. So I have to get into their head literally and see what it is that needs to be worked out, what it is that they're so fearful of to get through those measures. But just coming into one meeting with me is usually enough. to get that process started. Just that one meeting, if we can just talk and let me walk you through it, because I'm going to hold your hand the whole time. So like, isn't that great? Like to have somebody hold your hand through that. And literally, I mean it, like not just for my position, I mean it for the farmer. Like we need to build our farmers. We need to build our soil. For our soil, we need to do that. So I think that interaction has to start with the relationship that I have with the farmer. I feel it's my responsibility to take that farmer from wherever they're at. So I would say starting there. And then once they're in, it's, let's look at your business plan, your goals. What are their goals for their farm? If there's no infrastructure available to serve this farmer, we need to think about what our infrastructure needs to be in organics as well. We have a few farmers that are thinking about certifying for things that, aren't really being done in Kentucky, brand new stuff. So how will that farmer be supported? It's our responsibility to make sure that our support system is ready for them as well. And also them to know that we're backing them. So there's several things. And I hope I answered your question, but I feel like I may have gone a little bit off.
And I get it, because I tend to do the same thing, with outreach. Like if farmer calls me and they may be hanging on for like 6 to 8 months, but it's sometimes they need that person there they can trust, they feel comfortable with. So when they get discouraged, they know they can rely on you to talk to walk them through it, to get to the next step. So
everyone's timeline is different as well.
Yeah.
Like there's so many things, how long they've been on that land, all the things. There's so many different, it's different for every single body. But I just wish that people would understand that it starts with you taking this first step of initiating the conversation. That's more important than anything.
And do you think that knowing the length of the time it's going to take from that point A to that certification? Because I think sometimes,
that's another thing that can be a misconception as well. Yeah. Like people automatically say, oh, I heard you need 3 years. It takes, sometimes they think 10 years. Sometimes they think, it's going to be all these years that before they can get certified. And it's all of that is really an individualized thing. What someone may take 3 years, someone else may take 6 months. It just depends on the situation on that farm.
So Stephanie, you work with quite a few areas throughout the United States with different people and different demographics and all that. Do you see the same type of fear in every state, or it just depends on the location of? No, it's just.
No, it depends on the location. It is by far the southeast, coastal, southwest regions. The farmers who are in Portland, Oregon, do not have this fear. And this really goes to Brooke's point about like us creating a lot more education, because in those areas, they have organic permeating through everything in that community, their schools, their hospitals, it's everywhere. It is like frowned upon to not be organic in Oregon. I do not hear none of them. When they come in Oregon, they're ready. They're already in Pike's Place. They're already organic. They don't buy anything. They don't touch anything. No, it is really a lack of the education and all the myths that create all this fear, because they have just not been introduced to it. And one of the things that I think, everything Kenya said is correct. It's all about relationship building. It's a one-on-one thing. You have to hear exactly where they are to know exactly which part of it you have to address, because sometimes cost is not the factor. OTA has the luxury of being able to support the cost. I will pay for you to do it, and I still can't get people to finish the process because there are so many other more important things to them in play. But you have to figure out what that is. One of the things I do try to impress upon them about the why, especially if they're already having organic practices, which a lot of them do. A lot of them already do all the things that you do to be organic. And they do all of those things which are more labor intensive and sometimes more costly, because they support that lifestyle. Like they're already doing it because they have a natural alignment with organic. They want healthy soil. They don't want to produce toxic food. So they already have that. And one of the things I try to impress upon them about the reason if they're having a question about, why should they do this, is the fact that, you are already doing all this work, but you're not getting the premium for it. Because you don't have that seal. And the things that I had them kind of weigh out about what do you want to do with your business, right? Because if you plan to stay at your local farmers market where all the people know you, these are your neighbors, it's your community, the certification may not benefit you. And I don't want to pretend that that's something you need when we could just make sure you have organic practices and create organic soil. And that can just be a goal, right? But if you intend to go outside of your community and your neighborhood and scale up and have, added value products or anything like that, then all the consumer, you're Kentucky, all the consumer in Maine is going to be able to trust is that seal. So that is kind of the difference about the why. And one of the things I think is because there's not a large ask for organic in some of these Southeast communities. I talked to so many people. I spend a lot of time in Alabama right now, and there's not an ask for organic. And one of the things I think we and people like you, Tanya, people like you will impress upon the farmers in the communities to begin to ask for organic, because you all are going to be the ones that create the demand for organic. I can't do it from DC. It's impossible. It is going to be the farmer who transitions to organic or says, I am transitioning to organic, who has the family who buys from them. And they're going to say, what is this organic? And that farmer is going to explain the value of organic and why we're transitioning. And he's going to say, well, I know this farmer. I've been buying from this farmer. If he says this is good, I'm going to believe this farmer because he's been feeding my family for years and years and years. And what happens is that is a very natural effect, is that this person that you trust, that you have this relationship with, that they said, now we're going to buy organic, we're going to look for organic, they're going to pick up one more organic thing in the store. And that's naturally how it happens in those communities. But it's literally going to be people who are on the ground doing that. But it's a case-by-case basis. It's for sure a relationship building. You have to see what the problem is in front of them, because everybody sees a different problem. There's not a same problem for everybody. There's some common denominators: the price, the cost, the record keeping, the timeline, common things, but those can be easily overcome in a conversation. And as you have those conversations, you'll hear like, oh, there's another thing and another thing, but you have to have those conversations every time to be able to get that information. So we absolutely just need more people like you all just have those conversations, because I have a lot of conversations, but I'm only one person. I can't have them all, and you literally need to have them all to understand what the farmers need.
Very true.
I just have one thing I'd like to say off of what Stephanie had said when in Oregon, and how the infrastructure is there in Oregon to support those farmers. And that's one of the issues that we have, and that's probably a whole different webinar, but like infrastructure for supporting these farmers is very important. And what out west, because it's already, so you can't go anywhere, and the farmer can go anywhere and get their animals slaughtered. They can go anywhere and get this done and that done. And we need to focus also on building infrastructure in the Southeast, Southwest regions to get these farmers to where they are supported in these decisions.
100% agree. 100%.
And that conversation, though, when you said, what is this organic that they're asking their farmer, that's what I ask any farmer I first talk to, is what is organic to you? Because, one of the misconceptions as like, not just with farmers, but with Americans in general. I had a guy at breakfast at a hotel once tell me that anything that was growing, and actually my niece just said to my sister, she didn't wash her collard greens. And my sister was like, she's young, these young girls can't cook. But she said, you got to wash that, Imani. Imani said, well, it's organic. It came. And she said, still, you have to wash it. And she said, well, it came out of the ground and it's organic. And I said, did she buy certified organic greens? And she said, no, they weren't certified organic. She just got them out. And I thought, she thinks, bless her heart, she thinks that it came out of the ground, it's organic. Like, a lot of people think that, though. A guy at
so
breakfast told me that. Yeah, like
It's so funny.
organic,
One of
it's
my
early.
favorite things, to tell people once when they do have that, because you're right, there's so many misconceptions. One of my favorite things to tell people when they say, "Oh, it doesn't matter, it's natural. Naturally grow out the ground." I was like, "Yeah, those arsenic, it's natural. Doesn't mean you should eat it." Saying yes, but it does not mean that you should eat it.
You're supposed to eat it.
Yeah, exactly. You should not be ingesting it. Like, yeah.
Yeah. And in the same breath, we like definitely spend a lot of time honoring the organic practices that so many farmers are using. And so it's really wanting to be this open resource to answer any questions, while saying the organic practices are like the bulk of this work, right? And you're almost all the way there. And if you want to choose certification, it's just this extra little push, and we can help you with that. Because we really work to avoid the like organic, not organic dichotomy, because it can create this like divide when they're, quite simply, there just like aren't enough farmers using organic practices, really, right? We want so many more using them. So let's do more together. So we definitely take that approach. The other thing, Tanya, just is like a practical takeaway for anyone that's listening. I feel like it's worth emphasizing that farming operations can certify any amount of cropland. It doesn't have to be all of the cropland on their farm. And so sometimes that's really empowering for people to learn, like, oh, I could just certify this 1 to 20 acres that is certifiable. And another thing to clarify, just as an important takeaway for folks listening, is that cropland can be certified 36 months after the date of a last prohibited substance was applied to it, or, as much as your record keeping can prove that. So it's just important. We work with a lot of farmers in Kentucky who have a lot of pasture land or hay land or, cropland that's been fallow, maybe in our CS program. And so in a lot of those scenarios, that cropland could be certified as soon as the paperwork could be turned in with the appropriate records. And so that can be a really like aha moment for people, like when farmers realize they don't have to wait 3 years through that process. So it's just something I would really, we work hard to make sure people know up front, and they can take that into their calculus as they're like trying on organic certification or not.
Well, like Stephanie and Kenya were mentioning, do you think that a lot of people do not know what classifies as organic? So let's say some people are out here just doing conventional farming and think they're organic. People who are actually doing the organic work don't even realize that they're organic.
Yeah. Well, you'll see some in some communities where certified organic markets are sort of taking off. There is a marketing opportunity, right? For some farms might want to start using the word organic, or I use organic practices to sort of get the boost from that market growth and demand. But it's important for everyone to know, if they want certified organic produce, they have to look for the USDA seal. That's how we know something is certified organic. It's federally regulated. It has a definition, right? Those farms have been third-party inspected, et cetera. And so, but there is this, there is this element of, once there is demand for organic in a region, you'll start to hear more interest from the production end too. We get more questions from farmers in those areas. You'll see a lot of marketing materials from farms talking about how they use organic practices. So there is certainly an opportunity in that market space, and the burden often is on the consumer to figure out what they want and to know to ask for certified organic if that's what they're going for, right? And so we at Oak, we do a lot of consumer education and outreach just through community events, saying, this is certified organic, look for the seal. This is why certified organic matters for farms. This is why buying local matters for farm, but certified organic and local, like in the Venn diagram, don't always overlap, So just, and it's hard because, there's not like a soundbite kind of response to any of that, but it's just like the consistent conversations. And, Tanya, that, us, we do this over like sampling at a chef demo at a farmer's market, and so you're just like creating the opportunity to have more conversation with community members around, why local and why organic matter.
So what is the different like costs that they are missing out in not being in that premium market? How much
Mm,
dollar amount are they
yeah.
missing?
Well, it's not so that to the from I'll share just from what we know in Kentucky, and Stephanie, I'm sure you have like national data that you can pull from too. And really in Kentucky, it's just highly variable because it depends on what the farm's growing, what commodity they have. They're growing corn and soy. It's dependent on like these national global trends. But if they're selling direct to consumer through CSA, then they have a pretty competitive price advantage. But it also depends geographically where they're located, because do they like have a city center near them where those community members are going to demand the certified organic veg? So it's complicated. Sorry, again, not a soundbite, but these are the types of questions, or these are the questions we get from farmers. And then this is where I have a conversation with them saying like, well, it's complicated. Like, do you want to stand at a farmer's market booth? Do you have an employer partner that you can sell CSA shares through, and get the premium there? Like, what else can we think about? Is there a grain elevator near you? Or are you going to haul 5 hours? Like, and there's just a lot of what ifs, and we just work through the questions and, probably have more questions along the way than answers, but it's just a process of figuring out what's going to work best for that farmer and their goals.
100%. There is no other answer. That is the answer.
Mhm.
It literally is determined by what you sell, who needs what in your area, what's the demand there, what's processing like, how far away, do you have distribution? All of those things matter, but it's not like you can't figure out what your premium could be, but you do have to take a case by case basis and see what else is out there. I mean, the first thing I tell people is that just to start, right? Just if you're starting out, if you're at a farmer's market and you're there with someone who has a USDA certified organic product like yours, see what they're selling for and see what you're selling for. That's the easiest way. That's the first place you can start. If they are making $1.80 more than you per item, that's your premium. That's your cost right there. That's your cost for Saturday and Sunday for 26 weeks. That's how much minimum you could be making and more, right? And that's one farmer's market. You can do several. You can do CSA, and then it's all those other questions. But that is the answer. There's no formula. You're not going to figure that out in any way that is formulaic or that will work for everybody. But that's an easy place to start. If you have something, that is in your area, that that you can go look at tangibly and compare your product to something that is certified organic, that gives you an idea. And to your point, Kenya, about people, there are so many people doing different things now. There's so many commodities that people need and so many other programs for like grains and specialty crops and that kind of thing, that they're like, you know what, we got good soil in Kentucky, they're doing it in Alabama, I'm gonna grow this. We don't really grow this here, but it will grow here. And they're doing something completely different because that does make them stand out. But in that scenario, those people are not looking to go to a farmer's market, they're looking to go outside. So those people are getting certified because they want to have a value-added program, a product that someone buys and sends somewhere else. But again, you have to have distribution set up, or you have to have some way to move the product. And in the Southeast, that is one of the largest problems that we see, one of the biggest barriers. And we continue to try to work on that and try to build some bridges in that area. But processing and distribution is quite an issue in the Southeast for organic specifically.
Can you elaborate on that, Stephanie? Because you and I had this conversation before about, if somebody is interested, saying they're not interested in certifying, but they just want to, get organic and sustainable produce to different locations.
Yeah, distribution is it is a big problem that we have seen in the Southeast. It's not that we don't know it. As a national, we try to continue to bring people together that can address it. We don't have a distribution company. We're not the certifier. We're just the body, but we're saying, hey, this is an issue. So if we can address it in the standards, we try to do that for the USDA, but it's not really a standards issue. It's a market issue. Like, there has to be a desire for people to be able to have grain elevators or processing plants or distribution throughout the Southeast. And that really, it really only comes when you have a little more demand, because what happens is there's some really big distributors of organic that go all through the Southeast, because make no mistake, there's plenty of Whole Foods and Publix and Albertsons, all that down there, and they have organic in every one of those stores. But a small farmer may not be able to get onto those trucks because you have to have a volume. And it's not that, and what I've tried to impress upon farmers, if they have farmers that they work with, is to try to form collectives of some kind. You have a farmer who grows what you grow. You too can, you three of you could probably get on a truck if you all begin to work together, but that's probably the only way. But there's in fact a need for distributors in that area. And there does not seem to be that appetite to be able to have distributors that meet the standards of organic, because as you know, it has to stay organic from the soil to the shelf. That means that distributor has certain rules that it has to follow to be certified to carry organic produce or organic product. And it's not like they're so much different from other things that you have to do, but they don't have, like, they have, like, distributors, I think, is one of like the lowest categories of certification. Like there's just not a large desire. And we continue to try to get that volume up by having more and more farmers in this area, so distributors can see there are more farms in here. Like there is a good run from Alabama through Georgia, Florida, Kentucky, Tennessee, Ohio, Maryland, Virginia, or Ohio, Jersey, right? Because there are certainly in our area, especially in this area, in Washington, D.C., in Maryland and Pennsylvania, especially in Amish country and New Jersey and out there in those coastal areas, there's a high demand for organic product. And the one thing that they tell me from those areas is they would love to have more Southern grown produce. It is a better form of produce. They know it. They would love it, but they can't always afford, who's growing there. They can't always afford everything from California. They can't always afford to get things that are from just a few big places that grow greens in the South. They get a lot from North Carolina, a lot from Virginia, South Carolina. They get a lot from there. They would love to have more produce from southern states, and they would love to have more produce and more things that tell stories. That's what they tell me. They want to know the farm it comes from. They want to have that, but they in fact do not have, for one, a distributor that has a connection to those farmers, or a farmer who has organic certified product to bring there. So there's so many places that there's a disconnect. There is such a large need. And because the supply chain for organic is so vast, and everybody along the way has to be certified. It's not just the farmers that I gotta get, we gotta bulk up on. Once we have more farmers, you're gonna get more infrastructure. There will be more of a desired process, right? When you have several sugarcane farmers in Florida or Georgia, you have several more of them. You may have a distributor down there that says, okay, I'll do, I don't do clean outs, I don't do organic, but maybe I'll get certified and I will do a once a month clean out and I'll process organic sugar. That is the kind of thinking that has to happen, but they're going to have way more demand down there. So it's a very cyclical thing, and there's so many pieces that have to go into play in order to actually get it done.
But all of those pieces require a farmer.
All of those, they start with the farmer. They all start with the farmer.
Mm-hmm.
I have tons of questions, but we're on time constraint. We're getting down to the time. So, yes, so I guess like the pushback that you all have found in your organizations from outside public, how do y'all deal with that? As far as, I guess what would be some of the biggest obstacles that you face in promoting and trying to get the word out there? And then you have conventional farmers out there pushing back or putting bad vibes out there.
We honestly, it's just like trying to build bridges and understanding, because so many conventional farmers are still using some organic practices, right? Or they see the benefit of incorporating cover crops. And so one of the things that Oak has really been working on is just to build more common ground of understanding around the organic practices, and like certifying as this like next step premium access, to that premium market space.
So
and that's made a difference just in terms of the framing. We're using that language that's just a little more inclusive and together, and acknowledging that the work really starts with the practice, and you finish it off with the paperwork and certification. So
I guess my question is, like, it's some of these, like say in the government or some of these other agencies that you may have to deal with. I would feel like because you all are trying to restructure not restructure the whole system, but, make it more sustainable, make it more healthy, make it more aware, that you're going to have like these companies that are saying, hey, no, this doesn't fit within our guidelines, or, you know, this doesn't fit within our standards. Because when I was at the heard a lot of people who say they go into these FSA offices, and sometimes, you know, wouldn't even consider a farmer, wouldn't even, you know, help them with a parcel number, due to, they were saying, you know, I'm trying to get certified organic. And they get a lot of pushback in agencies of that type. So that is the challenges. How do y'all deal with those challenges?
Yeah, I'll say this. I have heard several times about FSA offices that are, you know, less than representative of what the USDA in DC here with me is trying to represent. And they've heard that, from farmers, and that is a pushback that we get. And what we try to do is try to have people understand the process that they can go to for complaints, and try to help them exercise that if they have that, but also we'll be there to do it. I'll hop on a call with them at FSA office. I will tell them exactly what to say. Ask them for this form. If they say they don't have this, ask them for this form, that kind of thing. And that's helpful to them. But one of the largest pushback that I think that I see from a national perspective in organic is not, I mean, it's not pushback, but it is like counterintuitive too. But it is not from conventional at all. It is from these people who are greenwashing, who are just throwing out the word natural, throwing out the word regenerative, throwing out the word sustainable, and like selling it as organic. That's the bigger problem. I think that's where more of the confusion is coming from. They say, oh no, it said it was regenerative. And I say, oh, what does that mean? And there's nothing. And that's kind of what I have to do, because we don't want to do to what Brooke said. Like, it's not organic or else. That's not the goal. But the goal is to have an educated consumer, an educated farmer, and better soil, better climate health. That's the goal, right? And so greenwashing for me is what, on a national scale, I see far more of. The conventional people they don't think about me. They're not bothered by me at all. They're going to make like all of their fast food fries, no matter what. They're not interested. They're going to make their quota. We're not even a drop in the bucket to them. It is the people who are taking advantage of this language and the lack of knowledge and understanding of what organic is, and they're capitalizing on it and selling like these false rubles, false shells for money. So I think that's more of the challenge that I see on a national level, is the greenwashing. That is more of the challenge for us.
Yeah.
Do you two?
I also think that there are some like bridges built through understanding when you really have the opportunity to share the successes and share, like, on a state level, what is the economic impact of the organic market and how many farms are participating and what has been the transformation of their family farm through that process. Because those illustrative examples matter. They just matter so much to people who are maybe start in a place of being a naysayer to organics, or not fully understanding the whole scope of what's possible. And so, through the years, I feel like that's where we've gotten the most traction, when we've been able to really shine a light on those success stories.
Yeah.
And get people to those farms, get conventional farmers to those farms that are certified organic, and just let those farmers talk. Like, Kenya and I can stay out of it, and that magic just happens, you know? So that makes a big difference.
Stephanie, could you elaborate on the diversity program that OTA has?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to. This program it's just been my baby, and it's highlighted so many things, not just for me, but the entire organic industry. It has really been a shining light for us to like look at like how OTA's mission is to be a unifying voice, and for us to really be able to see that we are not unifying nearly enough voices. We have so many voices left out of what we're doing, and it's detrimental in the fact that we are the voice that USDA is listening to. We are the voice that Congress is listening to. So we do not have the correct message, then we are in fact doing more harm than help. So we really set out to be really intentional about like, okay, we're going to have to do far more outreach and go out into these communities and get these farmers in one by one. We set up the program to be able to do that. The program provides a 2-year free membership to the Organic Trade Association. The Organic Trade Association is a democratic voting process. So the membership and not just a program admission was important because we want everyone who is a member to be able to vote. The members vote on what we are sending out. They vote on our board, they vote on our bylaws, and we wanted them to have a say in that because, again, we are trying to shape the entire organization, not just have this one side program. So that was really important. The program, as I said, has a once a month Ask Me Anything series, which I host. And it's just like this. It is literally us asking questions, sharing what's happening on your farm, answering questions from a certifier, that kind of thing, walking through different pieces of the certification packet, because the paperwork can be so overwhelming. So we just go by piece sometimes. We'll just take a day, and that's what we'll go through a formula sheet, or we'll go through a systems plan piece, or that kind of thing. So that's another thing that it offers. It also pays for $750 towards your certification. Most certifications for farmers who are startup or smaller farmers, that's who we usually have, their costs usually range between $350 and about $1,200, depending on the size of the farm, where they are, what certifier they go with, travel for that, certifier or whatever. But we pay that. Luckily you all have, I think, one of the most unique systems with KDA, being able to have it be free and tiered. I wish more people would go to a tiered system, but the certifiers don't all do that, and some people don't have state certifiers, are not the state, so they don't have that State Department doing it. But for the people who want to go through this process, we allow them to pick their own certifier. We do have like an Ask Me Anything about like what to look for in a certifier, like what things may be good for you. But we don't say who you pick. You pick whoever you want to, and OTA sends you a check. Once you have sent me your application and says, all right, Stephanie, I'm in, they're waiting for the money, I send you a check. And it helps pay for almost all of their certification. Some people have a little bit more to pay, but most people, it covers everything for them. And we give that directly to them. And then we follow them through the entire process. I know who your certifier is. I know who the representative is. Almost all the certifiers are my OTA members anyway. So I know them. I know exactly who they are. And I follow them through the entire process, their inspection process. How did that go? What happened? What they asked? What questions? What follow-up? So it's really a hand-holding process. Right now we have 53 people enrolled, businesses, brands, farmers, all kinds, because again, we don't deal with just farmers. We have also CPG brands to be certified. We have 53 that are enrolled. We have 7 in active certification. So they're in some stage of, they have an application and they're in some stage of the transition or application process. And we've gotten 1 certified. And the fact that it took us 2 years to get 1 person certified told us exactly what we need to know. We're not doing enough. And I'm very candid with USD every time I talk to them. What you are doing is not enough. Like, and what you think you're doing it well. It's not landing well. There are so many things out there that stops them. And it's not just the fact that there's a mountain of information. The mountain of information doesn't matter if no one can read it. So I do a lot of interpreting of the regulations for them, telling them, I understand that this is what the regulation says. This is what it intends to do. So you do what on your farm you need in order to do what it intends to do. And you're not going to get that from a certifier because you can't get that. That's not what they can do. And you don't have a lot of places to ask that kind of question. So that's another thing that I do in the program, is I have those kind of one-on-ones with farmers all the time. And it's not just me. I know a whole lot about organic regulations for trial and error, but my CEOs and our regulatory directors are experts. I can text them a question and they will know the exact answer because they just eat, sleep, and breathe organic regulations. But you have that kind of access through our program, and that kind of access you really can't get without paying a really premium dollar for. The program also offers a $500 stipend for consultant. If you have something very specific, very niche, that you just need someone to help with, and I just can't spend the time with you on it, OTA will pay $500 for a few hours, and we have consultants that stand by, and they will volunteer. They will take that amount, no matter how much it takes, they'll take that amount, and they will go help the participant to get past whatever the hurdle is. We have sometimes people with, functional beverage people, formulas. Formulas can be crazy sometimes when you're doing organic certification. Also, anything with like sugar, tapioca. There's all kinds of things when you're doing a brand. A lot of our people in the program are not farmers. I have more brands than I have farmers. I have people who are already sourcing organic materials to make something else. So that's the kind of thing that we spend a lot of time on, but that's what the program does. As I said in the beginning, we also offer scholarships. We don't want you to just be on the Zoom. We want you to go to the place where organic happens. We want you to be in the conferences, in the trade shows, so that you can see what else is available. I think one of the other problems that we have in areas where there's not a lot of organic demand or product or processing, they kind of don't even think of what's possible because they can't visualize. They've never seen it. They don't
Very
shop
true.
at Whole Foods, and if you do, you're not going through that. You're not doing that, right? So I take you to a trade show and you see that there's an entire pavilion of preserves, and you're like, I make that. I'm like, yeah, they eat this up. Like, they want this. They want exactly what you make, and they can't get muscadine preserves because they don't have any muscadines. So it's like those kinds of things that really open their eyes, and we take them, to the trade shows, and we pay for all of that for them so they can have those experiences. Again, that is what's going to help us convert that farmer into an organic farmer. You have to make it way more immersive and make it more meaningful for them. So my program does that. It's a 2-year program, and we did 2 years because we figured that's like maybe enough time to transition. But in the event in places where it has not been because they're actual farmers need more time, we extend it as a hardship without problem. We do not want anyone leaving this program who was active in this program, who was benefiting from this program, because they cannot now afford to pay the $360 OTA membership. We will not let that be a barrier to having people be able to participate in this program.
Okay. Almost time. Gosh, we have to have a part 2 in the summer or something. But yeah, so I want you to tell about the conferences that are coming up, and Stephanie, tell about Organic Week, and then I just want you all to give a word of advice for anybody who's want to take on a leadership role in organic agriculture, or if they're just wanting to become an organic farmer. What is some advice that you would give them?
Yeah, great. Well, I'll start with the Oak Conference. How about that? We have our 14th annual Organic Farming Conference coming up at the end of January. So we'll be in Frankfurt at KSU's Research and Demonstration Farm, January 25th, 6th, 7th. And it's 3 full days. Thursday is full of pre-conference workshops that are still available. Friday is sold out, and Saturday will be sold out in like a day or 2. So we're really looking forward to being there with 450 of our closest friends, and amazing 3 days of learning. And then we participate in other conferences around the state as well. So we organize the organic track that just happened at the Kentucky Fruit and Vegetable Conference. That's always the beginning of January. So if you missed it this year, be sure to check it out next year. It'll be back in Lexington next year. And then we have plans to join the folks at the East Kentucky Small Farm Conference, and Kenya presented at the Kentucky State University Small Minority Farmer Conference earlier in the fall of 2023. So there's so many incredible events that are happening regionally, and I encourage anyone to take Stephanie up on the benefit of going out of state too, because there's some really tremendous events that are happening both like in the broader Southeast region, but certainly on the coast. There are just some incredible folks to connect with, and it's really amazing to see the magic happen at those big events too.
It opened my eyes when I went. It was a game changer.
It's so good. And then, one of the things that's new for Oak is this organic farming mentorship program that we have. So we are pairing our first cohort right now, but if anyone out there is interested in being a mentee and paired with an organic farmer mentor partner in the future, please get on our website, give Kenya a call or an email, and we'll get you all the information you need there.
Brooke, tell them about our equity memberships.
Oh yeah, yeah. And so Oak has a membership. You can be a member of Oak and access some member pricing for registration for conference and field days. And then there are other like marketing benefits too. And so in the past year, we added in an equity membership option. So for any farmers that are identifying for a variety, it could be your Black, Indigenous, person of color, or you have an economic hardship, or your farm has experienced a natural disaster. We really don't want payment for membership to get in the way of you engaging with our programs, because we want everyone to feel like there's a place for them at Oak. Should our resources be something you're interested in learning more about, and we want you to have access to sort of that premium, the discount that comes with membership, and we want you to have access to the marketing support that we can supply you. So get on our website, it's on our membership form. Give me a call, give Kenya a call. We're happy to talk with you about those options.
I will also be presenting at the third Thursday organic track at Kentucky State University, February 15th as well. So that'll be another opportunity to talk to our farmers.
Well, the Organic Trade Association has our Organic Week conference coming up, and that's May 12th through the 16th. It's going to be in Washington, D.C. And for people who are in a part of our program, or for our diversity and entrepreneurship program, we do provide some scholarships. They are limited, so you have to kind of get in front of us to make sure that we know that, but it is available. But also that's the place where the immersion happens, right? That is where you meet people who are the leaders in the organic industry. That's like where every organic brand that you know or that you see in a store, like that CEO is going to be there, that vice president is going to be there. It's very informal. It's way more informal than you think, because it's so casual in that environment. But it's really where these big conversations happen. It's where, you know, some deals are made, some better understanding, some clarity. Somebody can move something there that maybe you couldn't get moved. It can happen at that conference in that room. So I really hope people have an eye towards joining that. It'll be on our website. We will have a launch for registration by the end of this week. So all of you are on our list. So you'll get that email that says, okay, you know, sign up and register. And I hope that you'll be able to join us. And to your other question, Tanya, about people who want to like see leadership, reach out. I think I'm the person on the website that says, are you interested in being a board member? Have an interest in being a board member. OTA has a way for members to engage, we call our councils. So you have a specific place, and Oak is a part of our Farmers Advisory Council. But if you have another specific interest, maybe you're growing some seed or pulses, we have a grains council. And people who are members of OTA through our diversity program or a regular membership can just join a council. So you don't have to jump into leadership right away. You can like feel your way around all those council meetings and join and see what is happening all over the organic industry. And you really get a feel for what's going on. You get a feel for how you can jump in. You get your name out there, you get your name known. And like I said, our democratic process is for voting for a board. At any time, you can put your hat in the ring to become a board member for the OTA. So there's no barrier to becoming a leader in organic, because the more we see you engaging in councils, you will be asked maybe to do some more things, maybe have some other speaking engagements, be flown somewhere else. Those are how those opportunities come about, which again is why we want to make sure it's an immersive experience for you. We want to really create an organic environment and culture for you, not just have you transition and get certified to organic.
Okay. Kenya and Brooke, any words of advice for people before we end this call?
I would like to just say, like, at any time I'm available. Like, I know that some people think about things in the middle of the night, because I do, especially being a farmer. You might have something on your mind. My number is on our website. It's on Oak's information. You can text anytime. I may not reply to you at 3 o'clock in the morning, but I will receive that text. I'm available all the time to speak with anyone at any time for any reason. And I'd love to just communicate with our farmers. For me, this is about Kentucky farmers for me. And so I really just would encourage any Kentucky farmer who is interested in joining our program to let us help you. And we'll make those phone calls with you, those emails to get in those offices, that when you're dealing with, you know, NRCS or anybody, you know, your local agents for any office that you're having issues, we'll walk with you through that process and help you build those bridges and connections. So please don't fear to reach out at any time, and I will be in communication with you to join our program.
And there are no wrong questions, and you don't need to know all the questions. That's what we're
That
here
right
for.
there.
So
Yes.
yeah, there's just like, you're curious, reach out. because that's where it all starts. And it's a learning journey. So yeah, we're here for it. We hope you are too.
Thank you three so much. I truly appreciate it. And you all have a good week. Bye.
Thanks,
Thank
Tanya.
you.
Appreciate it. Take care.
Thank you.
Great to see you, Stephanie.
Thanks, you too. Bye-bye.
Nice to see you. Bye-bye.